that make you comfortable?
That's always an uncomfortable question.
Right? Because like deprioritizing is not their forte. It's not my forte. Like I can always prioritize something. Yes, it is burning calories. Yes, it's probably helping your cardiovascular system. Yes, there are benefits. Yes, all movement is good movement. I am not saying that. But
welcome back to the Aging Athletically podcast. I am here with the brilliant Alison Heilig. Back again, and I'm your co-host, Kelly Moser. Alison, we need to talk about why midlife is a challenging time for women to start focusing on health and fitness for reasons other than what's happening in their physical bodies. Talk to me about what the average woman is dealing with at this time of life.
Yeah, I think the Gen X generation and later grew up with this very different mentality from what the generations before us did, where we are pursuing careers like to the max. Mm-hmm. We're having kids. We're involved in our community. We're president of the PTA. We're like, women can have it all, right? And yeah, I mean, women can have it all, but when they get to midlife and what they've been doing isn't enough, or if they've been prioritizing other things than their health, this is a really challenging time to make changes because you have maybe your kids you're trying to launch, you have your aging parents. If you have a partner, then you have their aging parents, and you have a dynamic with your siblings if there are interesting things going on there. So there's this psychological and sociological factors that are not as prevalent in other time periods that can make this really challenging. It can be a time where you're being pulled in other directions, where we talked about values, if one of your value system is, service or is family, then that's always going to be kind of tugging at you. And you're going to end up in this little rub between your values where it's like, both of these things are important to me. What should I be spending my time on? And I see that a lot with women where they're like, I know that I should be doing more, but I just don't know how because I don't have any time left. My resources are gone. And when you look at what it is, it's they had this experience of like, I can have the kids and do the things and like I can have this career and I can get to the top of it. And there's not a lot left for them. And I find that women in this stage of life, with all the other things that are going on, right? We talked about there's a potential that they could figure out, oh shit, I have ADHD, right? There's lots of other things that are happening as they're going through this time period that do make it more challenging. As you go through perimenopause, there's a tendency for you to have energy dips or motivation dips or mood disruptions or sleep disruptions. All of those things are going to impact your ability to work out or add something to your plate. So even if it's not working out. So that can just be a time period where it's like all of these things kind of like come together in like the proverbial clusterfuck, mm-hmm. and you have to like figure it out. And it's not an easy task.
Yeah. When a woman comes to you and she is looking to make changes and she is in this stage of life, what are you looking to evaluate about her capacity, what she can handle, what might be a smart training move for her, what might be overload? Mm-hmm. Talk to me about, how you kind of assess the women that want to work with you and want to work on this.
So we start out with where they are. And as I told you, my superpower is forensic diagnostics. So I'm looking at what are you doing? What do you want? What is the outcome that you want to have? And I also put them through a process that I call the stronger self system, which is looking at what are the values we want to be focused on at this point in time, because that is really important for me as a coach to understand so that I can help them make the right decisions. So that I'm not saying to them, you need to be lifting 4 days a week and running 3 days a week when they don't physically have the capacity for that, nor the desire, nor the ability to rearrange their values in a way that would meet that. So we're looking at all of those things together. And when they are hoping to make these changes, there are different things that you can do to result or to create different outcomes, right? So if you're really worried about bone density, you went to the doctor and your bone density is shit, because a lot of people come in when they get the oh shit mm-hmm. from their doctor and they have to make changes, because that they can prioritize that in their value system now, because it's like, this is a real problem. Now I can take things away from other people and direct it there, right? It's a really sneaky way that comes in. But if it's bone density you're worried about, then we're going to focus on the things that really improve bone density. If what you're really coming in about is you're worried about your heart, we're going to focus on that part of it first. And I always have people undershoot. Like, they come in and I ask them, how many times a week can you do this? And they're always like, high achievers, 5, an hour a day. And I'm like, we're going to start with 2.
Okay.
And we're going to do a half an hour, because I'd rather people come in and feel like it's ridiculously easy, because that's going to build your self-efficacy. You're going to be like, I can actually do this. Like, this is not that hard. I'm not white knuckling my way through it. Because there is a tendency for high achievers, and especially women in midlife, who are like really motivated to make this change for some reason, to just go 1,000 miles an hour at it. But that's what a lot of us have been doing our whole lives, and we've never been able to sustain that. It's burned us out. It's made us crazy. Yeah. Like, we hate our lives. So my job as a coach, recognizing the type of people that come in and what they're dealing with in their life, is really to say, what are we trying to achieve? And then how much time can we take to do this? Because then I'm going to look at biggest bang for your buck, right? Like, if we're going to zero in on those things, I'm going to let you build traction. I'm going to let you prove to yourself that you can do this. And then as your confidence expands, your capacity will expand, and you might feel like doing a little bit more. But it's very much the opposite of how a lot of approaches are, where it's like, you had to do, here's your 4-day-a-week workout program, and it's like, do you have 4? Like, my first question always is, I'm guessing you don't just sit around with like nothing to do for large chunks of time. So what are you going to say no to in order to say yes to this? Does that make you comfortable?
That's always an uncomfortable question.
Right? Because like deprioritizing is not their forte. It's not my forte. Like, I can always prioritize something, but deprioritize it? No, come on, man. I can do it all. It's like, no, that's going to make you miserable. We've done this before. We've played this game. So yeah, it's just really about managing the drive, and especially if you're at that stage where you're like, I have to do something about this right now, whether that's because your weight is changing or your body composition is changing or you got bad news from the doctor. There's often this like pressure that's been building, and the way that we're taught to relieve that is to just go 1,000 miles an hour at it. But like, has that worked yet? I mean, if it were going to work, wouldn't it have worked by now?
Do you ever find it difficult to convince someone that they really should just start it 2 days a week? Or do you get a lot of pushback that says, no, I can do it 5 days a week for an hour?
Yes. And as a recovering overachiever / active overachiever myself, I've got tools in the bag for that. But I have had a few clients that have, I've written the program for them. They've signed on to it. We're going to start a little lower. And then they've just thrown in their extra workouts, and it's like, okay, I mean, like, one of my core values is autonomy. Like, and I think that should be evident by everything we've talked about, right? Like, my goal is to put more options, more educated options into your hands so that you can make the decision about your life. This isn't about what I want, right? Like, if you want to do something crazy, like, I'm going to tell you I think that's crazy, but it's your call. Like, this is your life. I am over women being told what they should and should not do, and how they should spend their time, and how they should spend their money, and what they should do for workouts. Like, I'm over it. Like, can we please just let women make their own choices? Can we trust them to make choices for themselves? So again, as much as I sometimes would like to wring their necks, I also feel very strongly that once I've given them my guidance and I've provided that feedback, that I am here to support you. I am not here to tell you, I'm not here to be another voice telling you what you should or should not be doing.
And that's very different from what a lot of us are seeing on social media, from other professionals, people who are in that space. You mentioned earlier that underfueling, chronic underfueling, is a huge problem with many of the women that you work with. Do you notice any common mistakes that people are making with their training when they come to you?
There's usually, and I think this goes back to that recipe for skinny and that burn it versus build it approach, right? Like, there's this belief along, again, it falls along lines of male-female, Where men, when they go to the gym and they're like, oh man, I had such a great workout, it's very different than what the women are doing. They're like going and they're like bench pressing and they're like lifting heavy weights and they're doing less reps and they're scrolling on their phone and there's a very different experience than the group class where you're doing a bazillion reps.
Yeah.
You're sweaty and at the end of it, you're just like crashed out on the floor.
Burpees, like the whole thing.
Yeah. It's like there's
true.
We've decided that there is more value in super sweaty, high intensity all the time, burn exercise, right? And it's not necessary. And in a lot of cases, it's actually working against you. It's the reason why a lot of women can't build muscle. It's the reason why they're technically under eating, because they're actually trying to burn so many calories, because that gives them, makes them feel validated or whatever, right? Like if they're not spending enough time focused specifically on building, it's still very much about burning. And even whenever I prescribe workouts where they're lifting, right? And then when you do strength training, you're supposed to be lifting hard enough or heavy enough that you actually need a 60 second to 3 minute rest. Like you should need that.
Yeah.
You should not be able to get back up there and lift the same thing again 20, 30 seconds later. But I've got clients that are like, what do you mean I'm supposed to just sit there for 2 minutes? Should I do some burpees then?
It's the
and
rest
it's like,
that bothers them.
You should not do burpees then. You should sit and you should rest and you should get ready to do that set again. And that polarization of the training where you're going hard for a short period of time and letting your body reset and recover so that you can do it again, that just isn't something that women were socialized to do. It was all like, how many calories can I burn, right? Like, how sweaty do I get? It feels more productive to be doing that than it does to be building. So we really have to do a better job of that part of it, because that is, again, yes, it is burning calories. Yes, it's probably helping your cardiovascular system. Yes, there are benefits. Yes, all movement is good movement. I am not saying that. But specifically, if you want to increase your bone density, if you want to improve your muscle mass or maintain it as you get older, it's a different training style than going in to the random group class that women tend to go to. And you go to the gym, you can see it. The men are in the free weights and the women are in the group class, right? Like that's the shakeout. And I think that sometimes gets in the way of what women's goals actually are.
Why do you think women are more attracted to a group setting? Is it that they just don't have the education to feel confident in the weightlifting section of the gym? What's driving that?
I definitely think for Gen Xers and even millennials to some degree, that was just not something that was done. Like women, this is the dude section of the gym. Like they don't feel comfortable there. No one's ever taught them. And when you look in the history of like sports, right? The football team at practice, some of their days they were lifting. They were in the gym lifting. They weren't practicing. I played softball in high school, and we never saw the inside of that gym.
Me neither. Like, we had a state-of-the-art weight room. I never set foot in it.
We had a wrestling team that were state championships, state champions, and they were in there in the off season, like it was required. And no women's volleyball. I played volleyball for a while. We never went into that gym. Like half the school never even saw what it looked like. They didn't even. They knew it was there, but they'd never been inside of it. So there's a fundamental problem with the way that we've approached all of it, right? Like with men, to be athletic, you get stronger. Duh. Right? For women to be athletic, I don't know, run more, suicides, right? Like, I don't like that's kind of what it broke down to, or just keep practicing the sport. Like, what do you need to be strong for? You just need to be able to bump, set, dig, right? Like, I think we were raised that way, and now you get to a place where you just feel really uncomfortable there. And I think too, it doesn't help that, there was this trend for a while where people were filming other people in social media and they were making fun of them, or they're like, I don't know what this guy's doing. And I think people were afraid to be judged, to be filmed and judged, to be publicly shamed, to feel like nobody likes to feel like they're a beginner and they don't know what they're doing. They just don't feel like they belong in that space. And I think for a lot of them, like they didn't see people like them in that space. Totally. And that's difficult.
Totally. And there's also the added layer, which is a larger societal problem where you can feel like you're being objectified if you walk into a space where you're the only woman there and everyone else around you is testosterone fueled, grunting, lifting.
I gotta say that one of the best things that CrossFit gave the fitness community was it made barbells more accessible for women. It made heavier weights more accessible. It still is very much a burn it mentality in a lot of ways. Like, it is very high intensity. And it's not like, we don't need to go that hard all the time or that often to really get the results we're after. So it can be a little bit misguided, but I love that for the first time ever, you could walk into a commercial gym and there was a lifting platform and there were 35-pound bars, which are what women compete with. A lot of women compete with in Olympic weightlifting, which you never saw outside of an Olympic weightlifting gym. So it did create this gateway, which I think is now starting to shift the way that women see strength training, the way that they see themselves on lifting platforms. And I remember walking into the gym back in 2017, I walked into a commercial gym. There were 5 lifting platforms and every single one of them was a woman. And I was so fucking proud.
That's got to make your heart sing.
I took a picture. They were all turned the other way. And then I said, is it okay if I take a picture? And I told them, and they're like, yes, send us the picture. Awesome. It was so incredible to see that. We had pushed the men out of the lifting platforms.
Hell yeah. I love that. Let's talk about some myths and misconceptions when it comes to weight training specifically. Is it possible for women to train 5 or 6 days a week once they've worked up to, they're following a program, they're doing things the right way? Is that safe? Is that healthy?
The biggest predictor there is going to be your training age. How long have you been training? Do you have the ability to recover from it? I train 6 days a week. I've trained 6 days a week for a number of years. I'm 45, so it's probably been, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years that's been pretty common for me. And it goes back and forth between my running and my strength training. So like, if I'm training for something, I'll run more and strength train less. And then in the off season, I'll switch. Or if I'm in a really heavy build phase, then I'll lift more then. But I think the problem is that for most goals, you don't need it. It's not going to be sustainable. It doesn't give you a whole lot of wiggle room. For some people, though, when you learn how to train intelligently and you can spread the load out, that can actually be a really good strategy because it might mean that your workouts are shorter, might give you more of a recovery period because you can break up which muscle groups you're using. So there can absolutely be some advantages to it. And then there can absolutely be it can be overkill. It can be something that you really don't need to do. I would not be training 6 days a week if I wasn't running as much as I am and lifting. I would not try to lift 6 days a week. I wouldn't even try to lift 5 days a week. I think 4 is kind of like, for me, if you're lifting hard enough, 4 is plenty, right? Like, goes back to like the method, and then the biggest thing that I have to hammer home again is that you need to be eating like you're training that often. You cannot be restricting, right? And when somebody comes in and they want to go through a fat loss cycle with me, because I don't advertise weight loss. That's not my forte. But if a woman says to me they want to lose fat, I can help them do it in an educated, compassionate, supportive way. But whenever we do that, I will not let them run themselves into the ground. I'm like, you got to bring the intensity down. Like, we're just trying to maintain your muscle mass at that point and like just keep you upright and because at that point, like, we got to focus on recovery. We have taken away one of your mechanisms to recover. Food and sleep are your biggest mechanisms. If we reduce your food, you're not going to be recovering the same way. So we're not going to run you into the ground. That's going to increase your stress load. Your body's going to go, what the hell's going on, right? Like, it's not going in a good direction. So I think there's a lot of like extreme views in the fitness space. It's this, no, it's this, right? It's like, but somewhere in the middle. The middle path is the hardest path. And for some women, it's really helpful. And for some, it's not.
Yeah. It's probably very reassuring for women who might think in their heads, if I'm going to age athletically, I have to be lifting 6 days a week. It's great to hear from someone who has the experience, who has the knowledge, who has the mindset programmed. You don't need to be doing that. So it might be less of a time commitment, less of an sort of energetic commitment where you're going to bring it all into balance. So you're not going to be exhausted at the end of a week if you're lifting with the right program, because you're also fueling the right way and sleeping the right way.
Yes. And we're managing the load, we're managing the volume. We're not just sending you to the gym and saying, here, do all of these things, right? It's going to be a lot more managed. And in the beginning, anything helps. Just 1% better than you were doing the week before is going to be helpful. So you definitely don't need to dive into the deep end.
That's good to hear. Is there like a barometer for women over 40 to be able to evaluate where they are with their fitness? Is there something that every 40 or 50-year-old woman should be able to do physically to help them understand, okay, I'm on the right track, or maybe I need to put in a little bit more work?
This one's controversial because, like, I've seen over the last 2 years these fitness folks that have decided women, and I think the one was like, women must be able to do 11 push-ups from their toes. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Why
so
11?
Random.
Like, this is so random. Like, and then, like, there's no, like, scientific evidence to support this. It's just like a made-up number. And then in the lifting world, they have, like, percentages of your body weight you should be able to do with squats if you're, like, new versus good versus power lifter, right? Like, there are plenty of metrics out there, but it's going to be, just like in the last conversation we talked about, we need to take responsibility for picking the numbers that matter to us, right? If what you want to be able to do, and I've had clients like this, they're 80 years old and they're like, I'm going to spend my retirement money just traveling the world. And I need to be able to get my suitcase into that overhead compartment without having to ask somebody for help. I'm like, all right, let's train for that, right? Like, do you need more than that? I don't know. What I think a lot of people have decided that they are able to predict health or lack thereof. Yeah. Like, there's numbers out there that'll tell us what health is. But I don't think that's true, because everybody has their own health metric. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, I told you, I want to be able to, if a friend says to me, I want to run a half marathon this weekend, I want to be like, sure, I'm ready. Like, or I want to be able to, when my dog needs to be taken to the vet and he doesn't want to go, I need to carry him into the vets like, and open the door, and he's 55 pounds. Like, I need to be able to do that. And in order to do that, I need to be running a certain amount. So I think what we want to focus on is the process instead of all of this outcome, because there's a lot that we don't control in the outcome. But the process is, there are some minimum recommendations, right? And they've just been revised recently. But basically it's, you want to be doing some cardiovascular exercise, a minimum of 75 minutes of vigorous or 150 minutes per week of moderate. That's what's recommended for the minimum. And then 2 days a week of strength training for your total body, lifting heavy for you. That's it. Like, that could be it, right?
It's doable.
Yeah. That could be it. And you don't need to do more than that, right? But some people want to do more than that. Am I going to stop at 150 minutes? No. I like running 150 minutes on Saturday. Like, I have more than I do other, right?
You're built different.
Yeah, Alison. And I actually really love lifting. So I like doing that more frequently. So again, I don't know that anyone is qualified to stand up and say that they know what women should be doing and that these are the metrics that women should care about. No. Women should care about what's important to them. Yeah. And then they should be able to access information about how to get there from people who are unbiased and don't have an agenda of like, I'm going to make you do 11 push-ups from your toes. Like, why? That's a lot of energy you're going to spend on something you don't care about.
Yeah. So choose what's actually important to you, train for what's important to you, and then also fuel for what's important to you. I'm excited to get into our next conversation, which is going to be a lot about fueling. We talked about women chronically underfueling. We're going to talk about how to do it the right way, some of the science and nuts and bolts there.
Yeah.
All right.